What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a cold and rugged Stockholm, Sweden. I hope you're having a splendid day. My name is Maz, and in today's video we will be talking about the modifications I have done to my 2018 Mustang GT PP1 Performance Pack 1 car then. And also the intention of today's video is to talk about some of the modifications I think you should do to your Mustang S550. Some of it might be 2018 and up relevant. I've had the car for almost, 18 months now, so I've gathered some experience on some of the mods that I think you should have. With that said then, let's have a look and talk about the mods then. Let's start off with the rear of the car. So we have a GT350 track pack spoiler installed. In my opinion, it is perfect for the S550. It's not too much, but it's not teeny weeny either. So I think it really flows with the lines of the car. Can you see this? It goes like a perfect shape. It matches the form of the car really well, and it goes well with the black accents of the S550 as well. This is a rather expensive mod, and I don't recommend it as such because it doesn't give you any performance gains, etc. I don't know from a downforce perspective if it helps or not, but from a visual aspect it really lifts the car. However, if you have a PP1 car with the OEM PP1 spoiler, I think that also looks really well. In my opinion, it looks classy without having a spoiler at all, but I do think a spoiler enhances the rear of the car. Another modification we have on the rear is the deck lid panel. So on the export models we have a ugly faux gas cap which says GT. So there is no way of getting rid of that faux gas cap because it will leave holes, etc. So the whole deck lid panel has to be swapped. So this is the Ford Performance one, and I have an install video on how not to do that, but you can have a look. This is a quick install. You can do it yourself. It will not take more than an hour or so and you're finished. And I believe the price is around $250 to purchase. And also then you can purchase any type of badging that you want and stick it here with double-sided 3M tape as an example. We also then have Borla Attack system, catback system on this car. So this is the active variant, and if you want to have a really awesome sounding S550 GT, I highly recommend this system. However, it is pricey, and also from a quality perspective it was not up to my standards, at least when it comes to this pricing. But everything else is totally awesome. I will have a separate review of the exhaust itself, but if you don't want to pay this much, I highly recommend getting an X pipe or H pipe. I have several videos of that as well, which you can have a look at. So from a roar and sounding and exhaust note perspective, I highly recommend to at least get an X pipe or H pipe because it will increase the driving experience quite a lot. Moving forward, we can see that we don't have the OEM PP1 wheels. I actually have winter tires mounted on my OEM PP1 wheels. So these are aftermarket 20-inch wheels from RSR, and these are the R901s. So they are a monoblock forged wheel, 20 inches, 11 inches in the back, the width, and 10 inches in the width in the fronts. And we are running ET50 and ET35 on the fronts, ET50 on the rears to get that flush, sexy look. That is one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, with the OEM wheels, is that the ET is way off, so the wheels are actually not sitting that flush with the fenders, and in my opinion it looks off. And one remedy for that is to use spacers, which is not always a good thing, but anyhow, that solves that problem at least. And speaking of wheels then, so we are running Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, 305/30s on the rears and 275/35 on the fronts. I highly recommend these tires if you are changing your tires, getting aftermarket wheels. If the car is your daily and you drive in a more spirited way, I highly recommend these tires. They work great in rain and spectacular in the dry. For track use they will work, however there are other tires which are more suited for track use than these tires, but for road use there are no better tires than this. Going a bit closer on the rear end, what we have, which is not visible in this lighting, is BMR's CB005, which is a cradle lockout kit. I highly recommend you to get either BMR's or Steeda's counterpart, because this reduces wheel hop. I don't know with how many percent, but I have barely experienced it on the street or on the drag strip. So that is something I would highly recommend you to get. I actually had these installed before I picked up the car from the dealer when I bought it, and this is something you can do by yourself as well, and it's around, I think, $250, and it will take you maybe 2 hours maximum to do it in your garage if you have the possibility to do so. I also have Steeda's subframe alignment kit, which is compatible with the CB005, and that is to get your subframe straight. My subframe was actually a bit off until we installed these subframe alignment kit then from Steeda, and it sorted that out as well. Looking further on the back, we have lowering springs from Ford Performance. So we have the M5300W. It lowers the car 0.75 of an inch, and the stance is looking really good. In my opinion, the rear could have been dropped a little bit more. However, in my opinion, if you are looking to get lowering springs, so this car has the MagnaRide, if you're looking into getting lowering springs, do not only get the GT350 lowering springs, because in my opinion, on the rear at least, they are way too soft. I know Ford Performance have a kit with these lowering springs, together with a software update for the MagnaRide, and also with bigger sway bars front and back, which you can install. That package, I think, will be much better than just installing the springs, because in my opinion the car feels way too soft even in track mode with these springs. You could have a look at Steeda's or BMR's counterparts for the MagnaRide to get a more tight feeling, so to speak. Looking up a bit on the rear of the car, we can see that the rear windows are tinted, and also, again, in my opinion, this enhances the visual aspect of the car quite a lot. I have a rather dark tint, and as you can see, it goes really well with the spoiler and all the other black accents. However, one thing that is a bit off is that you can see here it's quite tinted or dark, and on the fronts nothing, and that looks a bit weird in my opinion, but it is illegal in Sweden to have any tint on the fronts. It could be possible to get away with it with like a 5% or 10% tint, but that's nothing what we have done now. So that is also something I would recommend, and also you won't have as much problem with heat from the sun, etc., when you're having your windows tinted. And again, then visually, in my opinion, it does really enhance the look of the car. Working our way to the front of the car, we have black badging, as you can see. It might not look to be that much, but in my opinion, it actually does quite a lot of difference. Those chrome badges which come standard, I don't know why they are there even with the chrome. Get these, it's 25 bucks, and it will on each side, and it will take you no more than an hour. The most difficult part is to get rid of the adhesive from the OEM ones. And also the red dot goes really, really well with those sexy Brembo brakes. Working our way even more to the front of the car, we have the Cervini's grills, and it really makes the front aggressive. And also, if you're running forced induction, this opens up everything so you get more airflow into your radiators and coolers, etc. However, I'm not sure what it does from an aerodynamic perspective, but I don't care that much because it looks so good. And that is also one thing I would recommend, at least. Again, then on the OEM ones, we have a chromed Mustang horse badge here. I would recommend to get that blacked out, at least from a visual perspective. But I mean, the Cervinis will totally transform the front of the car. However, it's rather expensive, so that's something to consider. I know there are copies on eBay. You can get bullet style grills, etc. That might be something you can have a look at if you don't want to cash out for the Cervinis. One thing which we cannot see, fortunately, is the Expel paint protection film I have on the whole front of the car, the hood, the front fenders, the lamps, fog lights, bumper, etc. is covered with paint protection film. We have it on the lower portions of the door, we have it on the mirrors, we have it on the pillars, we have a bit on the roof, we have a whole piece in front of the rear wheels, and also we have a smaller piece behind the rear wheels. Having this installed, I am really thankful, because the paint on the Mustang is really delicate and you will get rock chips really easily. I have driven this car whole winter last year as well, and this paint protection film has been golden. If you cannot get the whole front of your car as I have done, I would highly recommend to at least get this portion of the rear fenders protected, because the rear wheels throw up a lot of rocks on this panel. So either if you can get Expel or something else protecting your rear fender in this position, I would highly recommend that, because I have seen pictures of cars where there's barely any paint left on the rear fender. However, the Expel paint protection film is really expensive. I think it will run you something around $2,000 to get what I have done. But I mean, driving the car as a daily, it has made my driving experience much better, because I don't have to bother that much about getting rock chips, etc. from other cars or from my own car. Also, this area here behind the handles is also covered with Expel paint protection film. Also, another thing which is not visible, which I highly recommend if you do any kind of wrenching on your car, either swapping your wheels often or any kind of oil changes, etc., is to install jacking rails, and they will run you around $100 or so. You can install them yourself in 20-25 minutes. It's only 4 bolts that needs to come out and go back into place, more or less. What is good with the jacking rails are that you can put your jack in the middle of the car and lift the whole side up and get your jack stands in place, and it will save you much time, and also you won't ruin your pinch wheels under your car then. We have now covered all the exterior modifications we have done to the car. We have talked about the chassis and suspension upgrades we have done. Let's have a look on the inside what we have. Not that much actually, but what I have done is I have installed Barden Industries shift knob for the automatic transmission, and as you can see it's the blue one, and it goes really well with the midnight blue interior, which is a beautiful color option for your interior. So if you're undecisive on which color to go with for your interior, so if you have a blue car like mine, or if you have a black car, I think this blue stitching and some of the blue in the perforation in the seats goes hand in hand with those exterior colors. Something which I don't have now is also rubber floor mats. So I have bought Ford's the OEM ones, which are for sale. They sell them for around $100, but what I can show you, I have the rear ones in the back. It's a really good high quality floor mat, and it keeps any melted snow etc. from your shoes in place, because you have quite high edges which keeps any water in place then, and they don't move around because you have these studs then which keeps them in place. And I also have this floor mat in the trunk as protection, and this I can recommend for you as well if you use your trunk as often as I do then. We now have the hood open, and one modification which you cannot see is that I've installed Velocitec Big Mouth. It's a plastic funnel sitting here and it goes back to here somewhere, and the intention is then to direct the airflow and increase the velocity into your stock air box then to increase airflow to your engine. While we are on the subject, I have done an install video which you can have a look at. Your front bumper etc. needs to come off in order to install the Velocitec Big Mouth, and I have replaced the OEM paper filter with AFE's drop-in filter. Hopefully that together with the Velosa Big Mouth gives some gains, and I mean that's maximum of what you can do, and retaining your warranty and also pushing some more air into your engine. As you can see, the ugly rod is still here. I actually had gas struts from Redline installed, but for some reason they were throwing off my hood alignment, so actually I mounted those off and went back with the rod, and I mean that's working. Working our way to the right side of the engine, we have something here which is an oil catch can, and this I do recommend you to get. It's around $100 or so. I have emptied mine I don't know how many times, but what it does, it collects any oils or other nasty stuff from your crankcase, which otherwise would go back into your intake side. And there are people arguing that you don't need a catch can, and there are people arguing that you need a catch can. I did install it to have a peace of mind and don't have to worry about it. The only thing you need to keep in mind then is that you need to empty it once in a while. That is all from an, how should I say, performance or engine modification point of view I've done to my car. I don't dare to touch it because of warranty reasons, etc. So we have done what we can from a performance perspective. And I mean, the car is fast as it is, but I wish I could show you a blower or twin turbo setup or whatnot, but that is not the case. That was a lot of talking, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions on any of the modifications I have on my car, just hit me up in the comment sections below and I will answer them the best I can. Let's briefly go through the parts I really think you should have on your S550 Mustang. To start off with the rear, I do recommend to get some sort of cradle lockout, either being it CB005 from BMR or Steeda's counterpart. I do recommend to get some sort of protection on your rear fender, potentially the whole of the front of your car if you can afford it, because the paint on these cars are really delicate. I do recommend to get the jacking rails if you do any kind of wrenching on your car. It will make your life so much easier. Talking on the interior wise, I do recommend you to get the rubber floor mats from Ford. Specifically if you're going to drive your car during winter, it made my life much easier to keep the interior of the car clean. Working our way to the front of the car, I do recommend to get the oil catch can, because as I mentioned, I have seen that it collects quite a lot of gunk, which would then go into the intake side. And while we're at it, from an engine perspective, I would recommend you to get an X-pipe or H-pipe, because it increases the driving experience quite a lot, because the exhaust becomes much more alive with either of the two installed. That was that then, ladies and gentlemen. Give me one thumbs up for the video, 2 thumbs down, subscribe, and until the next time.